clicked on this video, you have probably watched other Genshin creators like Miss Defeat, Killer Kokomi, Ren, Java the Cup, or Mimure. I personally have watched them for a while now, and I felt inspired to make a video of my own. So, after careful consideration and planning, I decided on Prune, the new 4-star. But after a strange occurrence, I ended up with a Prune with angel wings. So I guess now it's time to see if the Yapper of thta can beat Mondstadt by herself. The rules are pretty simple. I can only use Nicole in combat, with exceptions. No healing food in combat, and if I get her signature, I can't use it until I finish Mondstadt. And also no co-op. Now let's begin the challenge. Our first obstacle is Amber's domain, and this may come as a shock to you, but Nicole is a pyro character. So after we massacre some hilichurls with their shield and use one of the prettiest bursts Hoyo has made in my opinion, we light the pyro monument and break the first Tavalan crystal. We then begin the walk to Kaya's domain, which Nicole definitely enjoyed, as we made a stop to massacre any hilichurls that were in the general area, and we also finally met our match. The pyro slime. So let me explain. Nicole is a catalyst user, meaning we can't damage pyro enemies, which will become a way bigger problem later. So I'll explain how to deal with them in Kaya's domain, so I just hope you'll be patient. Speaking of Kaya's domain, here we are. The beginning was easy. We just vaporized some slimes and hilichurls and continue on our merry way until we meet a mandatory pyro slime. So now here, what I did, and I tried. I mean, I really tried to fling him off, but I knew it was hopeless. So I decided I can use another character if Nicole has her burst, since it summons the little figures to deal damage. If you have any suggestions, please let me know. And I know the eye of perception exists, but I can't afford it. So please do not suggest it. I would be really open to any ideas. But you will see how I dealt with some pyro shields later. The next part was a lot simpler. We just jumped over some spikes and watched a cool cutscene with Kaya and Diluc. The walk to Lisa's domain was simple. We just walked along, offered some animalculi to the Statue of the Seven, and massacred some hilichurls again, and finally arrived at Lisa's domain to begin the final part of Act 1. Lisa's domain was much easier than Kaya's since there were no pyro enemies, and also since Nicole is a tall female model, I easily skipped the checkpoint and rode the platform to eventually break the last crystal, completing Act 1 of Mondstadt. The grind to Act 2 was simple. We just did some small quests and did handbook adventure quest, which is the main way I earned XP, and a few ley lines, and we finally managed to have our standard 10 pool. Maybe this was a sign that this was supposed to be an Amber-only account. We watch Jean talk to a Fatui agent, and she invites us to her office, which we show one of Devon's tears that we found, and Jean makes us an official honorary Knight of Favonius. After we step out, we see a strange green bard. We followed him to where he began to tell a story about Dvalin. Apparently, he was corrupted long ago by another dragon, and when he awoke, no one liked him. So now he is an angsty teen listening to rock music in his room all day and growing his hair out to cover one eye. We find out the bard's name is Venti, and after a small chat, we are somehow able to purify Dvalin's tear, which is never explained again. And before we are able to talk more, Venti runs away to the Windrise tree for absolutely no reason at all. Once we reach Venti, we have a small chat with him before we are rudely interrupted by an Eye of the Storm, so we very peacefully burn it alive. Which is made easier as Nicole's normal attacks have a very far range, unlike some Catalyst users. And afterwards, we talk to Venti, and he wants us to steal the Holy Lyre de Himil, a sacred artifact that's been in Mondstadt for hundreds of years. So, what a great plan. We then begin the process of sneaking along, dodging knights until we finally reach the Holy Lyre de Himil. We're almost there, until a Fatui agent takes it, and we're blamed for it. How rude can they be? After we escape from the church, we take refuge in Diluc's winery, where he gathers Jean, and we all devise a plan to steal the Holy Lyre de Himil back from the Fatui. So we head out towards the base so that we can confront the Fatui. The first thing we did was run across the lava bridge and interrogated a terrified guard. We then bribed a greedy guard with some Mora and then nuked some poor little electrobats with our burst. Then we had to, unfortunately, fight some small pyro enemies using Diluc. Soon we will have a replacement for him though, so stay tuned. And finally, we scared another guard to get the key to fight the Fatui agent. So in the time I'm fighting this Fatui agent, I want to have a little rant about something during these little boss fights. So the rant I chose for this one is talking about duo teams, meaning like a character has to choose someone with them to be good. Examples like Lauma and Nefer and Nefa and Flint. Just because they can be really strong with these characters does not mean they're good characters. I hate this. I hate the fact that I have to spend primo gems just to get a Nefa or a good team partner for Flynn's because his free to play options aren't the best. It sucks, and I think Hoyo should really fix it. And I really just like characters who are strong without any other characters. We haven't gotten one in a while, and Nicole is like an exception. But for the most part, we haven't gotten any strong characters, so that was my rant for this section. After that very long fight, we steal back the Holy Lyre and decide to meet up at Diluc's bar. Once we reach the bar, we fix the lyre, and we need the other teardrops to be able to successfully summon Dvalin, so we make a plan and head out to search for the other teardrops. I can thankfully say the Ruin Guard fight was much faster than the Fatui agent. Maybe because the Ruin Guard doesn't have a 50% resistance, but still, the fight was easy and we claimed the teardrop that we needed. Afterwards, Nicole was taking a nice stroll and spotted her favorite friends, Healy Turtles and a Cryo Abyss Mage. So Nicole simply walked over and burned their house to the ground, like an arsonist. And afterwards, we took the Dvalin teardrop. Now it was our final challenge, which included some unfortunate pyro slimes. So now, our new friend for these enemies is the original person for this account, Prune. Though she was really under-leveled, so it took a while to beat them all. Finally, we reached the end. We dealt with some Electro Slimes and Hilly Churls, and we had a Pyro Abyss Mage. But since there was water, we just drowned the shield, and we finally claimed the last volunteer drop. Nicole once again took a walk and burnt an Eye of the Storm. Maybe this is an issue that needs to be discussed in the future. But anyways, we finally made it to the winery where we would discuss where to summon Dvalin. So we fixed the lyre with Dvalin's teardrops, and we made our way over to Dvalin's cliff, where we began to sing the VeggieTales song to Dvalin. Though he seemed not to really like it and decided to run away to hide in his room with all his friends called the Abyss Mages, and that was the end of Act 2. Grind up to AR-18 was pretty easy. We did some one-time domains, opened some Shrine of Devs, and did Amber Story Quest, which involved us tracking down some enemies and annihilating them quite easily. We eventually made it to AR-18 and started the final act of Mondstadt. Act 3 begins at the winery, where we go to attack a Hydro Abyss Mage, which was a quick and nice battle, since Nicole can actually damage the shield, unlike the Pyro Abyss Mage later. Next, we make a small journey to the wall of Dvalin's lair, where we have to fight some hilly churls so Venti can break the shield to the lair, and eventually we make it through the lair. Now we ascend the tower of Dvalin's lair and break one light actuator when we are given 3 trials, but one is an issue which I'll get to first. So one of the challenges has a Pyro Abyss Mage and 2 Dendro Samatrals. I'm sure you can see our issue here. So I thought, and I remembered, in Killer Kokomi's video, he was able to take Hydroculus from Fontaine and use it on a Pyro Abyss shield in his Cleone run, so a plan was made. I traveled from Mondstadt to Chinyu Vale to Fontaine, where I grabbed a Hydroculus, teleported, and barely managed to defeat the Pyro Shield, allowing me to beat the challenging stage and complete the hardest trial of Act 3 of Mondstadt. The next trials were much easier. It was just a few hilly churls and a gliding challenge to finally break Dvalin's shield. Afterwards, we became a machine gun to shoot Dvalin down like the true Americans we are, and now it's time for another Yap sesh. For this Yap section, I want to talk about characters having no introduction, such as Zabai and Linnea. These characters had no announcement from the lore or the game. And yes, I know about Yanfei's little anecdote, I got it, but that still doesn't help for anyone. Now, don't get me wrong, I love Zabai and Linnea. I wish I could do a solo run of them. But can we please introduce characters before they drop? That was my Yap, so I'll get back to the story and stop boring you. After Nicole 3 faces Dvalin, we defeat Dvalin and save Mondstadt. And soon Dvalin saves us from certain death and flies us back to Mondstadt, where we talk to Amber and clean up Mondstadt. Afterwards, we're told we are wanted at the church, where Barbara is horrified and Venti runs outside, where we follow to suddenly see alternate AU Elsa? I'm kidding. She reveals herself as La Senora, the Eighth Harbinger, and freezes us in place as she steals Venti's Gnosis and escapes until we can catch her next time. So that was part 1 of Nicole only. I'd love to hear feedback, and the next episode will be out later since I'll be gone for a week, but stay tuned, and for now, bye-bye.